Walk away, me boy, and by morning we'll be free. Wipe that golden tear from your mother dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me. Then the rosary beads, counting 1, 2, 3, fell apart as they hit the floor. In our garb of black, we must pay respect to the colour we're born to mourn. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys, by morning we'll be free. Wipe the golden tear from your mother dear, raise what's left of the flag for me.
Fighting Irish faithful, thank you and welcome tonight to the post-game show of the Ohio State game. Notre Dame falls to the Buckeyes in Columbus 21-10. Not exactly what we were expecting. Certainly not what I predicted. I predicted 35-31 that we would win. So we're going to go straight to Red Snapper, my co-host. Bro, glad you're up at the end and you're feeling better. Welcome back to
No, definitely. And honestly, I expected it to be a low-scoring, grind, defense, offense style game. That's very much what it was, which played into our favor. We just could not capitalize on it.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really honestly surprised at how poor Ohio State came out in this game. I was really expecting them to do better, and they did not. So I was pleasantly surprised with how stale they were on offense. How, their defense was pretty decent to start the beginning of the game, but let's face it, we started out okay. And if you were an Irish fan that first half, you were feeling really great, holding Ohio State to 7 points. I mean, shit, everyone's feeling good about that. So
no, absolutely. Even Herb Street made a comment going into halftime about here's the offense that everyone says is going to put up near 50 points, and Notre Dame's held them to 7.5 points. So, clearly the defense, and it definitely was the bright spot of tonight's game. I thought probably a lot less question marks that actually showed up tonight. I think offensive line is our major weakness. I think the lack of experience at wide receiver definitely is part of that. New quarterback, he actually did well for the time he had. He could not get a rhythm, and I think the play calling was a little bit all over the place.
It got kind of shitty at the end of the game. Twitter was a fucking grease fire at the end of the game. I will say that.
I saw that too. So,
well, here let's go to our people. We are stacked on people. This is probably the largest we've had, which is expected from a post game show. Jason, hang on. We're gonna jump to someone new here. We're gonna go to the Hockey Man here. Hockey Man, you're invited to speak.
My boy Stevie Y.
Go ahead and hit the pink button in the lower left hand corner, Hockey Man. Despite the fact that you're a Red Wings guy, Hockey Man.
Hey guys, great.
Hello. Speak.
Can you hear me?
He's really, really quiet.
Really quiet.
Can you hear me now?
That's better. Shout. Get closer to the microphone. You got a kid sleeping or something like me? Yellow.
What are you guys drinking tonight?
Well, we're having some scotch here. I can barely hear you, man.
All right. Well, man, maybe you want to mute me then. Figure this out, man.
This is not going to work at this level. Hockey Man, we're going to put you on mute. We're going to jump to someone else.
I see Marcus Freeman on, right next to Coach Parkegian.
I know, right? Who's this? Invite this person to speak. Elon Musk?
Hello.
Speak.
Can you
Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. What's your opinion of this game?
So, all right. Don't kick me out. I'm an LSU fan. All right. I had to put Marcus Freeman to get y'all's attention, but I think Notre Dame looked really good in the first half. All right. But it was a common theme in the first game and in this game, the two games Marcus Freeman has played. But he's a young coach, but he doesn't make adjustments, or at least he doesn't make enough adjustments. Right? But at the end of the day, guess what? Y'all still lost the damn big game. Y'all suck. Brian Kelly was y'all savior. And, y'all are ass.
Whoa. Back the bus up. Hold on a second. Be real careful here. You're coming into Notre Dame space against someone you know nothing about this show, about someone who has done significant evidence about Brian Kelly. So you need to be very careful before you throw your mouth out there, all right?
I had the objection. He said that Marcus Freeman did make adjustments. No, we made adjustments.
Oh, see, there he goes. See, there he goes. See, I challenge his opinion, and he goes nowhere with this. All right, hold on. Let's back the bus up. He's not wrong about the questioning whether or not Marcus Freeman made an adjustment or not. I'm not going to question him about that with this loss, okay? But I would challenge him is the fact that he is an a-hole and an ignoramus saying that Brian Kelly was our savior. That is completely ridiculous. That is a completely ridiculous, ignorant fact by a troll. All right, let's go to Hockey Man.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Much better.
Nice. What are you guys drinking?
Well, Red Snapper has hung up his jersey here. I'm, as you may or may not know, anyone who's new to the show, this is our first post-game show of this season. We did one post-game show at the end of the bowl game last year, which kind of had a similar result. At least we put up more points in that game. But I have a single malt Isla Scotch whiskey, so that's what we do here, Scotch and spreadsheets.
Nice. I got a Fire Tower Red Ale from Shortway Brewing Company in North Carolina.
Oh, nice. Who barely escaped a loss to Appalachia State today. Hockey Man, by way of North Carolina beer, what's your take of this game?
Honestly, I don't know what else to say about the defense there. You know, I wish they would have got more sacks and did a little better on the D-line, but it wasn't bad given only 21 points up. I was in another chat and they brought up that one play where Buckner got hit as he released the ball and was going through Lorenzo Styles, I think, number 4, right? And it looked like he had a step too. So I think that one play was gut wrenching because I think if he could step into it, that might have been 6 right there.
Yeah, I could see that. It did shorten his follow through, so he couldn't put the touch on it. I think he wanted to drop it in the basket, so it did have a little bit more air under it. So I could definitely see that.
Yeah. I think holding you raise a very valid point. Holding Ohio State, the Buckeyes, this offense that everyone was saying was the next coming of Christ, was going to be amazing. Is to hold them to 21 points, and I honestly, don't have or know what their, average was last season. That's my lack of preparation right now. But in all honesty, I mean, the fact that we held Ohio State, CJ Stroud, I mean, and you look at their sideline, they were just stale. They were dead. They were not, playing with pep in their step, so to speak.
Well,
compared
the
to Notre
crowd
Dame.
was dead too for a while.
Oh, and it's bad when Fowler and Herbstreit, who are just praising Ohio State left and right, and I could be a little inappropriate here. I'm not going to, but but I mean, a scoring offense that averaged 45.7 points last season, first in the country, more than Alabama or Georgia last season. Okay. A team that was amazing, and we held them to less than half of their average from last year.
Well, I mean, not to mention that we held them to 7 points in the first half.
Absolutely.
That broadcasting crew was trash tonight, so whatever.
They're not even. They're like showing what was it? They were showing Heastan chewing his gum or whatever, and they're just talking about Heastan instead of just showing the play. So and that's not on Herbstreit and Fowler. They're just announcing the game. But whoever is in the booth in the van running the production, the producer, that person needs a stern finger wag. Come Monday, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the season because if the offense improves, the O-line improves and all that, it's very real to see, depending on how Clemson looks, we can definitely go 11-1.
I took it as a very untested team, and you can take it from so many different angles, whether it's the coaching staff finding their groove in a big game, first starting, game for Buckner, Marcus Freeman's first game as head coach for a regular season game at his alma mater, any number of, combinations of players who are freshmen, sophomores, first-year starters, however you want to put it. There were so many opportunities of firsts. I call it learning through attrition. And this is last year, we were throwing junk on the offensive line for the first couple games, and then they finally got their shit together, and they were great the rest of the season. That's going to be the same thing with the DBs this year because they have talent. They're just green. So they're going to need to get burned. They're going to need to make mistakes. They're going to need to get yelled at and go through film and, take care of everything else. But I think ultimately it's the experience. And like we said, let's be realistic going into this year. Was it going to be a 10-win season? Was it going to be a 9-win season? It's one step. It's one game. Yes, it's Ohio State. Yes, we all as Indy Nation wanted this to be the first one. It will get there. So I still got faith.
Yeah, I think, I'm looking back on it, thinking about it, I didn't see a play that Tyler Buckner wasn't able to make. You know what I mean? Like, he's not holding the offense
With the
back
exception of his offensive line allowing things to collapse around him.
Well, yeah. I mean, he wasn't a quarterback that was like, he can't make this throw or he can't read the play kind of thing. So,
I mean, if anything, and not to, put a silver lining on shit, but I actually think this is more of a wake-up call to Ohio State than to Notre Dame. I think, and not that I think Notre Dame was playing above the rim, that's not what I'm trying to say, but I really think that with Ohio State and how they came out, quite frankly, they were stale. And, last week on this show, the Fighting Irish Faithful show, we came on, go check it out on the podcast version. We laid out how Ohio State had better players than Notre Dame. And probably on paper, statistically, should have won. Now, I personally thought that Notre Dame would win and we would overcome these things. And I did think that our running game would be more successful than what it was today. Unfortunately, that is probably my greatest disappointment of the night, when we don't run as expected and we end up only putting 76 fucking yards on the ground, where in Ohio State runs for 172. So it's very disappointing.
yeah, it's very disappointing.
However, what I will say, what gives me hope in that scenario, Hockey Man, here's a question. And then we're going to run to someone else because we are stacked and we want to get as many people on as possible tonight. Question is, of our play selection run to pass, what do you, just off the wall guess, how many percentage run did Notre Dame do versus pass?
I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it completely flipped in the second half.
Well, I didn't do the stats breakdown of half by half, but Notre Dame ran the ball 62% of the time tonight, which is really crazy. Which is in one way good and kind of goes with my internal monologue of #RTDB, but what it also shows is that Reese and Coach Freeman are not throwing in the towel and just abandoning the run. So that gives me some hope. But at the end of the day, when you're down by 11 plus points, you can't run the ball. You have to pass at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to see what the offense was going to do. I didn't see too many plays where Tobias Mayweather was out there or Jaden Thomas, so it's kind of hard to understand what they were trying to do, especially in the second half.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Not seeing Tobias Merriweather, that's totally expected. Well, Hockey Man, we're going to jump off. Thanks for jumping on. We are stacked on people tonight. Like I said, we want to get as many people on as possible. Thanks for joining us at Hockey Dude 8487. Thank you for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Craig,
Thanks for letting me speak, man.
Yeah, come back anytime. We will be live on Tuesday for the quote-unquote regular show, not a post-game show when we're all just cracked up on whatever we've all been drinking all day. Let's go to Jason. He was probably the first one on before even the co-host. So, Jason, the Viking, the manliest man with the manliest beard, who can drink more whiskey than anyone else I've ever seen. But if he's not there, that's okay. Craig, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Hey, Craig, how's it going? Welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me. We should have won this game. And I think the spotlight was on Tommy Reese. He didn't pull through. 10 points in 4 quarters. I don't know. To me, is unacceptable.
Well, 0 in the second half, too.
Yeah. Dude, it was disappointing. The first play of the game was great. Pass to a wide receiver, had a lot of yards. I don't know. I can't even think of any other wide receivers that caught a pass the rest of the game.
Well, Mayer had that one, and then he fumbled it. And
yeah, well, I mean, he's a tight end, but I mean, we need a better running game, and we need better wide receiver play. I just got kind of cranky. I don't know. I hear about the boy wonder thing and the genius offensive guy. NFL wants Tommy Reese. I didn't see it.
Agreed.
I'm pretty pissed off, to be honest with you. I feel bad for Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman is refreshing. He's my guy. I just don't think I've never been sold on Tommy. I hate.
Did you just listen to my latest my show after the Alabama game in 2020? So to back Craig up here, and Craig, you're not wrong with our disappointment and us questioning our current offensive coordinator. Yes, it's one game. It's the beginning of this new season, but if any assistant coach or any coach, quite frankly, in my opinion, that has more spotlight, focus, attention, scrutiny, whatever you want to describe it, it's Tommy Reese. It's not Marcus Freeman. And the reason for that is Reese has been around in this program longer than anyone else, longer than he stand, right? Because Reese was a player. He gets Notre Dame. He's been around it. My point is this. In 2020, when in my first season doing this show, the podcast, if you want to go back and listen to it, by all means, you can find it. It's out there on Spotify and iTunes. Post Alabama, I came out and did some statistical analysis and basically said that Reese should have been fired. And then I walked it back and said, well, maybe not, right? Now, what I will say to Craig, which is kind of more just me being patient per se, because it is the first game of the season. And not that I'm throwing him a bone with respect to rust. And I really don't like saying that, because Alabama's put 55 fucking points up today. They didn't look like they were rusty. Granted, they were playing, a blind girls' school in Louisiana, but that's not the point. The point is, you're playing against a good team on the road, and we do have a lot of questions on this offense. New quarterback, new running backs, unproven receivers. The only real proven asset on this team is Mike Mayer, which you knew Jim Knowles and Ohio State was going to key on, right? And then Mayer fumbles the ball when he catches like his 1 or second pass or whatever it was. And I think he was so surprised that he actually got a pass. And he's like, oh, shit, I got to do something with it. And he fumbles it. Fortunately, he jumped on it, which is the right thing to do.
How much free space he had, open space he had.
He's like, oh, shit. I got it.
Easy stab and jump in the air to grab it. And then he comes down and he's streaking across the field. There's no one around him. I think it scared him.
He's like, oh my gosh, I'm all alone. I don't know what to do. This is like, it's like stage fright, right?
I don't know. Before that play, Michael Mayer was catching passes behind the line of scrimmage. That was annoying to me.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was unacceptable. I think Tyler Buckner is the guy. I loved what I saw today, but I think the play calling was just, it wasn't there. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just my opinion.
No, Craig, no, and don't get me wrong. Like, Craig, we welcome your opinion, and we welcome everyone's opinion except idiot LSU fans who are praising Brian Kelly without fact. All right, I will shut those people down, and I didn't kick that guy off, but that's gonna stay on the podcast version. But no, like, this dude is a fool. But with respect to what Craig is saying, I don't think what Craig is saying is wrong. Everyone's pissed off at the loss and kind of the way it happened. And it's like, let's put it this way. Like, I don't want to be this sunshine and rainbows person. Like, oh, see, we covered the spread, right? So that's, if anyone put $500 down on this game, you won, right? Okay, respect to those people who thought that Vegas was smoking crack, all right? But my point is this. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we lost. I don't care if it was 1 point, 17 points, or 30 points. Okay? That's not the point. We lost the game. With what Craig is talking about is that you have to put up points. Won this game. What was that, Craig? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we could have won the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We could have won it.
How do you think... and I don't disagree with you. I think we could have won this game. How do you... What should we have done differently that would have made this better?
Well, we should have run the ball better, first of all, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, it's not fair for me to say what we should have done, could have done. But we needed a better running game. Did we have wide receivers? Where was Lindsey? Lindsey was... Look,
here's my thing.
I had a lot of high hopes, but that guy in the last couple of years,
he has athletically
routes. He's been slipping. He hasn't been catching passes. Like, where he's the fastest guy on the field.
Yep.
They're not throwing to him. Like, what is going on? I'm so annoyed by it.
If I may jump in, Craig, what I want to. If I want to echo what you're saying and kind of your sentiments is Lindsey, what is his skill set? Speed. Why are we not putting him in a position to be either a crossing route or deep ball speed sort of situation where we're giving him the ball and aggressively throw it downfield? Look, I came on my show last week, and even John at Always Irish this morning jumped on his live show and said, we need to be aggressive. We need to attack, throw it downfield, because if we do that, it will loosen everything else up from the running game to short passes to Mayer. It doesn't matter. You are aggressive in your passing. You throw it downfield. Good things happen. And someone like Lindsey, Styles, it doesn't matter. These guys can do well. I love seeing Matt Salerno catching balls while he's on his back and it's bouncing off his forearms and he makes a beautiful catch. That's great. But look, that's a fun highlight for ESPN. That's not a sustainable model. So yeah. Craig, I agree with you. We've got some things to fix, and against a high-powered, higher skilled team in Ohio State. I mean, let's face it, their recruiting is better than us on average. Their players are better than ours. Over the last 4 years, their recruiting, 4-year recruiting for per 24/7 Sports is 6.3. We're 12.3, so we're not there yet. So they have better players. I mean, God bless Ohio State with better players than Notre Dame right now.
I think we were the better team tonight, though. I really do. I really believe that. And I get it. Another thing that annoys me is that I have high expectations. I'm critical, and I think this team has so much potential. And it annoys me when people say, "Oh, we played good. You know, we're going to get there. We're going to get there." Well, good isn't good enough, and we had it tonight. We had it. I don't know. It's frustrating. Sorry.
No, I'm with you, man. You know, hey, we're with you. You know, everyone wants to win, and you know, it's hard to. I am not going to pull like Brian Kelly and say winning is hard. But what I will say is, look, it's the beginning of I think we're all approaching this game under the, you know, we have some connection to Brian Kelly and last year and kind of what we've been dealing with the Kelly regime and people like Reese and of course the players were recruited by him and etc. My point is this, you know, we are moving into a new era under Marcus Freeman, and it may take some time. You know, we all wanted it to be flying out of the gate and winning the race and winning this game in Columbus, and that just was not going to happen. So, hey, Craig, we really appreciate you jumping on. We're going to jump on to Coach Barsegian. Thanks, Craig. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, gonna garage. Coach Barsegian, thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm pissed.
Uh-oh.
Extremely pissed.
Speak.
You had your foot on their throat, and for the second game in a row, Tommy Reese has failed to make halftime adjustments of any kind. He stuck to what he knows, which is that simple Brian Kelly plan, and just keep doing what you're doing, and it failed. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I know you're patient with him. Screw Tommy Reese. We need, and I saw this in a tweet earlier tonight, we need to separate all ties from Brian Kelly, and that includes Tommy Reese. I would trust Marcus Freeman, a defensive guy, making the offensive play calling over Tommy Reese right now.
What I'm disappointed about Reese is that we did not have. I mean, some of the formations looked a little different, but I didn't really like it. You know, I am not a fan of the near formation. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're on the goal line, but not when you're on your own 15. And I'm not going to also apologize for having really, really shitty field position. I mean, let's face it. Ohio State did a good job of controlling where we picked up the ball. I don't know how many of our possessions we started behind our own 15-yard line, right? So, and you know, I could count probably on two hands the number of times that Tyler Buckner was in fucking shotgun catching a snap in our own end zone, right? That is ludicrous and really hard.
It's nothing against Buckner. He did everything he could.
No. But what I'm saying is, like, why the fuck are we running a near formation when we're in our own red zone? That's kind of my point. Like, that's good stuff for goal line or to throw out, you know, around midfield, whatever. I agree with you that I was disappointed in the formations, in some of the play calling. My favorite play...
The play calling on that 1st and 25. Where did that come from? Those play calls made no sense to me. Hey, let's try some run plays on 1st and 25 just beyond the 50. Just see what happens. And it's just like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Throw the ball. You've got 25 yards to go. You need to make up some ground instead of trying to run it right there.
Well, and this pissed me off, and I don't remember. This happened in the first half. I think it was a throw to Mayer. He caught it, right? That's great. But he ran like an 8-route, and he needed to go 10 yards. And it's like, whoa. Why are you cutting your route off 2 yards before the first down? Get to the first down line, then turn around, then catch the ball. Like, that's like simple, like, play calling shit. Like, I know what the quote play call was, and I was a receiver in high school, so was Red Snapper, and some of these other people who are on the phone here. The problem is here, it's like, look, go to the first down line, then catch the ball, then turn around. Like that is coaching, and that comes down to Reese and to Chauncey Stuckey and those guys, and they need to clean it up. That this is like basic shit that you need to fix.
Now, I understand the offensive line, especially in the first half, was kind of, O-line U was not O-line U tonight.
No.
But this punter, that was a grad transfer from Harvard, I think. Can we send him back? I mean, he was...
Come on, man. Come on.
I feel like we've had better punters in the past and under Brian Kelly than this.
I mean, if we're looking at punting as like a problem, I feel like this is like a smudge on the windshield when our transmission's about to go out, right? I mean,
well, you mentioned us starting inside our own 15, no telling how many times. I think Ohio State started inside there on 15 once, maybe, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You know, football is a game of field position. And if we are starting way behind our own 20 and Ohio State is not, look, they're going to struggle, right? And
now, the defense did phenomenal tonight. And by the time we got into the fourth quarter, they were gassed. And for our lack of defensive back depth, they still did phenomenal tonight for the most part. I was very impressed. And overall, some with the offense. But considering you mentioned these are all Brian Kelly players, and we've got a brand new coach in only his second game, and they hung in there with the number 2 team in the country, it is definitely a completely different mindset and attitude. Because you know if Brian Kelly goes into this game, he's losing by at least 30.
Yeah, I mean, you know, C.J. Stroud and the passing yards was 223. You know, I mean, it's better than ours. Ours was actually 177. You know, ours is clearly not good. But, I mean, the complete disparity of yard points for Ohio State, you know, and you know, what's the stat I always go back to? It's yards per point, you know, and let's not kid ourselves. Ohio State was not good, right? Their yards per point tonight was 18.8. That is not a good number, but Notre Dame was 25.3, right? So it just shows how stale we were. And at that second half where we did literally, I don't want to say nothing, but it was unproductive, that second half, right? So that is a problem, right? 0 passing touchdowns, that is a problem. Especially now, and if anyone who's new to the show, right, what I do is I compare Notre Dame to the team that's holding the trophy at the end of the year, i.e. the national champion. I look at the last 10 national champions. I look at the stats they throw up, and those stats are what it takes to be elite in college football. Yes, I'm cherry picking the national champion, but look, we're Notre Dame. We expect nothing else but excellence, and my attempt is to try to get us there and say, hey, this is how you get there. This is what you have to perform. And if you don't throw any passing touchdowns, that's not going to happen. Passing touchdowns are the second most important stat behind total touchdowns. Okay, rant over. Coach Barsegian, you've already heard this before.
Oh, yeah.
Except last week. I'm really disappointed. Coach Barsegian, you didn't jump on the podcast last week. The streak was broken.
Man. Well, I've had so much going on lately, especially the last couple of weeks. It's a wonder, like, college football has snuck up on me this year. So
respect, no problem.
But I'm happy we at least showed up tonight. Yeah, we're at least on Twitter, we're still the butt of everybody's jokes, but we showed up. Like, over the last 11, 12 years, we don't even get off the bus for a game like this.
Yeah, I mean,
we not only got off the bus, we showed up and we hung in there with the second.
Well, and
best
I
team
think
in the
we
country.
came out fighting. Our team looked like we had way more energy. That was kind of something that was talked about this morning on John's podcast, where we're talking about who's going to come out not on a business trip, actually looking like they want to play football, full of hype, full of energy, and Notre Dame looked like it. And quite frankly, Ohio State didn't. Ohio State looked shell-shocked. Their fan base got deflated in that crowd. You're looking at the players on the sideline. They had literally the Notre Dame deer in the headlights look from 2014. That's what Ohio State looked like. And I'm like, shit, if we just score some points and get the offense moving and get some big plays on defense, maybe a turnover, who knows?
Oh, they had no idea what to do.
They were confused. They were like, whoa, they were not expecting this. They were all taking the media, ESPN, Kirk Fowler, bullshit, putting that shit in the vein. And they were like, hey, we're going to be King Tut here and walk out with 30+ point victory because we're Ohio State and we got CJ Stroud and, da-da-da-da. No, that did not happen, and they had to actually be like, oh, shit, and their coaches had to yell at them, and if you looked at Ryan Day, they showed him, he was yelling at his players, he was screaming.
Oh, he was pissed.
He knew what was going on. He's like, what the F are you guys doing? So, I mean, and not to give praise to Ryan Day, because I'm not an Ohio State guy, but look, I mean, he knew what was going on, and there's a reason why he has a 90% win percentage, so. Coach Marcijan, any last thoughts? We're going to jump over to Jason. He's been patiently waiting.
I'm good.
All right,
It's
Coach.
been a long day and an even miserable night.
Well, thank you for joining us again. Coach Eric Parsegian, thank you for joining us on Twitter Space tonight. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful show, the post-game show of Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm joined with my co-host, Red Snapper 9098. And, we're talking about Notre Dame, Ohio State, the post-game show. Notre Dame falls 10-21 in the horseshoe. We did not lose by 17.5 points. So, Jason at Irish JTL, join us. Hit the pink button. Sir, welcome to the show again.
Hey, guys. I'm gonna take a little different perspective. I don't think Tommy Rees had much to do with the loss. What I watched was an offensive line coached by Harry Heastand get dominated tonight. I don't know how to put it. We couldn't run the ball. Buckner didn't have time to throw the ball. And I really don't know what much more to say beyond that. It wasn't a play calling when there's no time or no lanes or no push either way. The offensive line was completely outclassed. The defense played great, but the offensive line just it didn't do anything. It really didn't do anything, and I'm very disappointed in the way the offensive line played tonight.
I agree. I am disappointed with that. I really thought our offensive line would be better. I really thought our running game would be better. And credit to Notre Dame and not abandoning the run, but it got really irritating halfway through the third quarter and into the fourth quarter when we could just get nothing more than like a 3-yard gain rushing. It was very irritating. And look, I'm not going to complain about that per se, because maybe one breaks free, but man, and I haven't gone back and looked at the box score, but what was our longest rush? It probably wasn't very far, right? I'm not expecting Sear Wood, down the pipe against Oklahoma. That's not what I'm talking about, or Josh Adams against USC. That's not what I'm expecting. I would love that, but
no, we had Kyrie went 6 for 28, Estime went 9 for 21, and then Diggs went 4 for 9. Buckner 11 for 18. So Tyree, who only had 6 carries, went for 4.7 a carry. Estime, even with the touchdown, went 2.3 a carry. So we averaged about 2.6 per carry over 15, 26, 30 carries. 30 carries for about, what was that, 49, 30 carries for 50 yards.
Yeah, it's not good at all, you know. It's almost like 2-3 yards per carry. It's not even 3 yards per carry. What I've started to do, in addition to yards per point, I've started looking at the effectivity of rushing and passing with respect to points. Since we had one rushing touchdown by Estime, our only touchdown of the game. So respect to Estime, he's going to be the toast of the night is to Estime. For our only touchdown, and you know, I wouldn't say it's a breakout game for him, but hey, he gets the touchdown. But our rushing attempts per touchdown, we had 30 attempts, 1 touchdown, not so good. The national champion average is closer to 16 rushing attempts per touchdown. Now, passing attempts per touchdown is really sad. Yes, we had 18 passes, which is really, really low, which is really crazy. But no touchdowns, and that is a problem.
We had no receivers that had more than 1 catch except for Mayer. We had, like you said, 30 rushing attempts for 1 touchdown. 30 attempts for 50 yards. So, to think the play calling, I mean, I'm seeing calls for Reed. I got kicked from the Notre Dame chat for this opinion, but I mean, honestly, the offensive line was straight fucking garbage tonight. I don't even know how else to put it. Like, we couldn't throw the ball because Buckner had no time. We couldn't run the ball.
The rushing is what I won't lie. I wanted us to run over 200 yards. I always want something like that, but I didn't really think that Ohio State has such good players that it doesn't surprise me that they stifled us. What really sucks is that we didn't get into a rhythm or a stride. I really thought that our struggles towards in the first half were going to kind of devolve and we were going to hit our stride into the second half, and that did not happen. On the contrary, you look at Ohio State, a halfway decent team, those last couple of drives, they hit a rhythm. They were moving the chains, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. That's okay because it moves the chains. You get first down, second down, third down, first down, right? So I don't know what the deal is here with Notre Dame's offense. Once again, I don't want to be a broken record here, but when in one of these big games, okay, it almost looks like our defense does halfway decent, and I don't want to say plays above the rim, but does okay, but our offense really just doesn't show up and doesn't take care of it. So.
No, I think the defense played way above the rim. Cam got beat with inside technique on that out route for a touchdown in the first half, but it's not like the defense was giving up. We couldn't move the ball. Tyler didn't have time to throw, and we couldn't run the ball. So if you run the ball 30 times and everybody's screaming, run the damn ball, and you can't throw the ball because every time you drop back, there's somebody in your face. I don't think Tommy calling plays is the issue. Houston's offensive line did not show up tonight, and I will die on that hill tonight. Like, our offensive line did not do what we expected them to do. We won the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. I think Maris played well. Foskey was kind of non-existent, but we got a lot of plays from other people, but there was no offensive line domination. We didn't dominate on the offensive side of the ball in the trench, and that's what cost us the game. We could not move the ball. We couldn't score. We didn't have time to throw, and no play calling was going to overcome that. His poor offensive line play tonight.
Yeah, I think that kind of summarizes it, Jason. I won't argue with anything you've just said there. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your contribution tonight. We're going to jump to the other Jason Yeager. You've been invited to speak. Welcome back.
Hello, sir.
Hello. How's Ohio?
Hello. Actually not too bad. I'm kind of with the other Jason on this. Is I don't completely blame Reese. I think there were some dumb play calls that he went back to the Brian Kelly conservative play calling when it was 10-7 and kind of got away from keeping the foot on the throat, which we all are used to that for the last how many years. But I said it when we talked last time, is it's going to be the trenches, and the deeper team won. They're deeper. Their offensive line dominated that end of the game with 7-minute drive in the fourth quarter, that 95 yards of just running it right down our throats. And the defense was the bright spot up until then, but they were on the field the whole second half because we couldn't move the ball anywhere.
Yep.
And it is the offensive line that just got dominated. I think Reese started becoming conservative because he couldn't trust his offensive line to give Buckner the time to throw, to keep the foot on the throat. When all of your receivers have over 20 yards, their one reception is over 20 yards. You got 22, 30, 50. All of the receivers had one big play, and that's it. They just stopped throwing it downfield, and they could just dominate that offensive line the rest of the time. So they were able to put 8 in the box and just stifle that, and Reese saw that and had no trust in it.
I think that's a really valid point you put, is which team tonight, Notre Dame, Ohio State, if you're an impartial, unbiased fan, which team adjusted? It was Ohio State. It was not Notre Dame. And good teams tend to do that. So that's kind of the struggle here tonight, where you've got one team that we all love and came out looking really good, but then kind of plateaued and didn't really do anything else differently, didn't change. And I don't want to compare it to the bowl game, but it kind of felt like that towards the end of the third quarter going into the fourth. Like, I looked down at my phone and I'm like, holy shit, it's the end of the third quarter. What happened? What did we do?
Did
I don't know.
Anybody notice offensive line shuffling? Because I saw 55 on the sideline during a major offensive series, and I could have sworn I saw numbers in different positions. So to me, it looked like somebody got hurt or something that we just aren't seeing, and that probably did add to just the offensive line getting its butt kicked. But you could tell it was miscommunications they showed that one last sack where everyone slanted left on the offensive line, and our right tackle and right guard are double teaming somebody that did not need to be double teamed, and let the linebacker that came all the way from the outside all the way across the face of the offensive line through that hole completely unblocked. So to me, it was very like guys were in positions they weren't used to, and that's what I saw.
Yep, that was going to be my next point, is that I saw the same thing. Is there was a few different times where I don't know if it was Heastan trying out different things because he wasn't happy with it, or if somebody wasn't feeling right, but the miscommunication, you could see it all over the offensive line. Different guys going different ways on calls that usually you would see more coherent movement, and there wasn't any. But I'm not that guy to get on a the talk radio host show type guy where I'm gonna blast the team for one loss.
What are you talking about? You've tailgated with us. I know what your children like on their cheeseburgers.
Hey, one does not.
I was saying I'm not
This
negative.
is a family show.
I'm not a negative Nancy on this. Is I get these I got text messages. I'm in Ohio country. I'm in Ohio State country. Like everybody's Ohio. My brother-in-law went to Ohio State, so plenty of people that come at me. And the first, I got 17 messages as soon as that game ended saying, Notre Dame is awesome. You just have some little shoring up, and this is a great team. I can't believe they stayed like this. I can't believe
I highly
our
doubt they're
offense
going to
can
send
do
you those
anything.
texts tomorrow. That's my opinion.
Well, they did tonight, right after the game.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
And
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I agree. I think the big
I don't
part
think
of
it's
this
as bad
is
as it was.
tempered.
We were there.
Tempered expectations. Yeah.
Yes.
Tempered
We
expectations.
were.
It's the first
We were
game.
right there with our hands in the lead. We went into the fourth quarter with still a good chance of winning the game.
Agreed.
Or at least tying the game. Out of anybody's wildest dreams, even last year going in, knowing Ohio State, knowing what they're about, we made them uncomfortable the whole game. We made them play underneath ball. We played the 2012 defense with Te'o and everybody else of bend, don't break. And then all of a sudden, one play, we decided to not bend, and Ohio State's normal post pattern in the back of the end zone, every single game they have one touchdown that way. We gave that up.
I am so happy that you compared this team to 2012. I didn't want to say it, but I was kind of waiting for it because that's kind of how this game felt. It's like real low scoring, shitty offense kind of game.
Boring as
it's
hell.
like, we'll just kind of find a way to win, and that's kind of how
Yes.
was
And we
kinda
had our
feeling for a while.
chances. There was the chances to make plays, but the offensive line shut down. Play calling on quarterback draws on 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 20.
Yeah.
But like those type of calls were Brian Kelly type calls of being afraid to push it. And I think Reese just needs to get out of his own mind. I think he was trying to be the smarter guy out there instead of
And I
playing
think that's
football.
Marcus Freeman to say, okay, let's break that habit. You know, I want to be a fly on the wall when the coaches have their meeting because I want to see what Marcus Freeman's response, especially to the erratic, sometimes unlogical play calling from Reese on down and distance measurements, and sticking with the hot hand. If we pounded the ball and we found some movement, we found guys, and that's why I think the offensive line, they looked completely different second half to first half. And I want to say it's because 55 was on the sideline. He was limping around. So I'm pretty sure there's an injury there. But I definitely, you need to find things that work. The one thing that I noticed, and I'm curious to see if anybody else caught this, is there were several, and that we're going to get on a soapbox that we've been on before, but the whole fair catch on the punt return. We had several times where we could have caught it and at least made an attempt, because this is ridiculous. We need some spark that needs to come from special teams somewhere. Especially if you're going to run a grinder style game, and it's going to be all defense, make a play, let the offense, grind away. You got to get a spark somewhere. And by not even attempting a punt return, to me that was retarded.
Yes, they did. I don't know why. It's something they've been afraid of for years, and it seems like it didn't change today. They had plenty of room to return punts, and they just, even when Herb Street says that, because he's not usually a Notre Dame guy. Even him saying he had plenty of room there. Why is he fair catching it?
I mean, to Red Snapper's point, that was Patterson, is number 55. He's our captain.
Yes.
And he was already shaken up, and he was kind of questionable coming into this game. And in all honesty, I didn't think he was going to play at all. And then I was actually surprised to see him out there. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of
That
where
would
it
make
is.
me more upset that they weren't planning for it then.
Well,
And
not
they
so
didn't
much
have better
that. I mean, I
communication.
would
Well,
love to
better
see.
communication on the line at that point.
I would love to see an experienced player like Patterson playing, right? Yeah, that would make me feel better. My point is that, look, this is just the hand you're dealt. You just got to roll with it, right? And if we're not evolving the game plan, and I don't think Jarrett Patterson potentially being shaken up, injured, what have you, is a contributing to why we can't run the ball or establish a pocket to allow our receivers to catch passes. I don't see the connection there. Yes, he's good. Yes, you need a pocket, but look, that's my opinion. So
one concern going into this game that I can officially let go of and take off the table is, does Buckner have the arm to throw the ball? Yes, he does. And I think the other Jason was right on it. Give him time in the pocket, let things develop, and I think that'll actually open it up for him to be able to throw the ball. But when you don't have an offensive line that can give you those 3, 5, 7-step drops, then you're going to need some pop passes. You're going to need some quick, easy stuff. And I think that's going to be the part that's hard.
Tough times.
I do have a question.
Tough times. Go ahead, Jason.
Who's the linebacker with the Palomalu hair?
That's Maris Liafau.
That's it. I couldn't remember his name, but he was a beast today. I was very, very impressed with him.
Maris Liafau is a fantastic attribute to this team, and him out there. I mean, he's ball hawking as best he can. I saw Bo Bauer shaken up on a play, and I got really nervous about that. Maris Liafau is going to have a really good season, and if he continues to do what he's doing, he's in this space. And I don't want to say I'm surprised we didn't get a turnover, because I think Ohio State is disciplined enough, and in their losses last season, they had no more than one turnover in only one of those games, and that was the Oregon game. So they're very clean with the football, especially in their losses. So, look, if we had one turnover, I would have been really, really excited. The fact that we didn't get any, sure, I'm disappointed, but I'm also not surprised.
And we didn't turn the ball over ourselves.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if we want to say positive here.
It is because of how Buckner literally, that first throw was from him getting jacked up and he let go of the ball just in time. That easily could have been a pick six.
Yep.
So that's where, we had plenty of positives to come from this. I think a lot of the mistakes were from up above and not the players themselves. The players themselves didn't really there was no true mistakes by a player today. You didn't see anybody out of position and saying, oh crap, they were running the plays they were supposed to. Like I said, that touchdown down the middle that I think deflated, that's where the deflation came, and then Notre Dame came out and didn't move the ball at all. And then they had a 98-yard drive or 93-yard drive, 7 minutes, that was it.
Yeah.
But I really do think the coaches even will go back in and say, those players played their balls off for us, and we let them down here. And I think that's what the conversation will be going into next week. And thank God we've got a Marshall game to where if Notre Dame plays even half as good as they did today, I think we're going to be happy and talking about them being 4-1 in 5 weeks.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, not
there's
that I want
to
put some soothing balm on this wound here, but look, we've got Marshall, Cal, North Carolina, who does not have any defense whatsoever. If anyone watched that game today, that was pretty entertaining.
That was crazy.
That was a crazy game. Oh my gosh. My point is this: there is no team more talented, more quote unquote difficult on the regular season schedule than this game against Ohio State that we experienced today. The only other two games are Clemson and USC at the end of the game, or at the end of the year. So those are the kind of situations we're dealing with, and we've got a couple games here where we can kind of pick ourselves up off the mat, and let's not kid ourselves, right? This is a new coach, new coaching staff. Yes, they've been together for about 7-9 months, however you want to describe this. My point is this: they're gonna need some actual games where they're outside of their blinders and looking at themselves on practice film, and they're actually looking at their team relative to another team. And thank God it's against a really, really good team, a very talented team, a team that's well coached, got great players, and in a very difficult environment. And am I happy with starting the season 0-1? Of course not. But as I've said this morning on the Always Irish show, I would rather us have this loss at the beginning of the season, or have this difficult game at the beginning of the season where we put ourselves up there, see where we're at, and then it kind of humbles our team, and then we go forward as a program with our guys. Okay, this is how we improve. This is what we work on. This is what we do to make ourselves better. And if you do that now and you lose your first game of the season, and I'm not predicting anything, but say we go 11-1, that looks way better losing a game earlier in the season than say we won this game and then we lose at the end of the season against USC. So the optics do matter. And that's it. All right, we're going to jump over to Dave. Dave, you've been invited to speak. DB.
Hey, what's going on?
Dave, welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Dave.
What's up?
It was a good game until the second half, and like you guys were talking about, they made more adjustments than we did, but I think we went away from the running game a little bit too early in the second half. The way we were running it in the first. And the play of the day, of course, was sending two safeties 20 yards away from the ball in on a blitz. I don't like the call. I mean, it was not called for, especially when you got, I think, was it Jaden Mickey that was guarding the Johnson kid? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know the specific play you're referring to.
I believe you're right.
Okay, so we got a true freshman you put on an island. Okay, you don't do that. You don't blitz guys 20 yards away from the football, especially these guys. They're going to make you pay. I mean, come on. I didn't like the call. We were ahead at the time. Sure, they had some momentum, but you don't. If you're going to blitz both linebackers. Let the ball be underneath and let them gain another 10, 15 yards. And if we hold them, then we hold them to a field goal and we got a tie game. Okay, so we got a tie game there. No, instead you do that, and we weren't getting home. We only got home once, and that was in the first quarter on a blitz. That was it.
Correct.
That was the only sacked him one time. So I don't like the call. I think if we hold them to a field goal and we got a tie game, who knows what happens after that? Okay, so I didn't like the call. I didn't like the adjustments that we made because they made them in the second half.
Oh, we made
but we got away
adjustments,
from
Dave?
the running
Oh,
game
Dave, what were
way
those
too
adjustments? Let me know what were those adjustments.
quick. Well, I mean,
I'm being facetious.
they were loading up on first and second downs, and we're sitting there throwing the ball, and we're not completing it. I mean, they had everybody up in the box. There was two safeties. They were running a cover 2, and they had everybody else in the box. And you got to beat that cover 2. When you got man to man, we got a guy out there with number 0 on that's a high school sprint champion. He should have been able to get away from that guy who's a really good DB. He should have been able to get away from him more often than what he did. He caught one ball, I think, the whole damn game. Yeah. I mean, we got things we got to work on, and special teams is one of them. Our kickoff team was nothing like it was a year ago. I mean, Tyree got the ball. He went 5-6 yards and got crushed.
Yeah, I don't think
it was nothing
we made
like
it past
last year when he would get 20, 30, 40 yards. He was not, I mean, there was more red jerseys down by the ball than there was white jerseys. So we got to work on that. I mean, we got a lot of things to work on. Should we have won that game? I think we could have. If little things would have got taken care of, I think we honestly could have won that game.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, at the end of the halftime, I'm feeling good. I wasn't counting any chickens or anything, but look, for the box score and all these assholes on Twitter, and we're kind of light on Ohio State people, and not that I'm egging any Ohio State people on. My point is this: these assholes thought we were going to lose by 30, 40, 50 points, and the spread was 17 and a half
all day long. Even the broadcasts on all the games I've been watching, I watched every game. I was flipping around. Oh, yeah, Notre Dame has no chance. It should be in the 50s. They're not going to be able to stop the best offense in college football. Well, guess what, assholes? We did. And they're not the best offense in college football. I saw the best offensive college football in the game beforehand, and that was the University of Georgia. And Georgia will repeat. I'm calling it now. Nobody's going to touch. They got a better offense than they had a better defense a year ago.
Ooh. Yeah, they look really good.
They will dismantle Auburn, or not Auburn, but Alabama.
They embarrassed Oregon. They urinated all over Oregon,
and Alabama
despite their awesome.
State, so they didn't play anybody. So
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of that Oregon game just because of what was going on today.
I watched every damn down of it, and they're good.
I will say this: Oregon. The best thing about Oregon in that game was their dope green uniforms, but
that was it. Other than that, they were the crap.
Man, I saw that final score and I'm like, holy shit! Oregon only. put up 3 points.
We played Georgia, and if I'm not mistaken, we lost to them by a touchdown in one game and by a field goal in the other. Now, when Alabama comes calling against Georgia, they're going to get stomped. I'm calling it now.
Woo.
You can call me out if I don't, but I'm calling that they're going to win the SEC, an SEC title game, and they're going to win a national championship again.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Georgia looks really good. Let's kind of turn it around back to Notre Dame. Dave, in this game, clearly the play calling appeared to be suspect.
Yeah.
Yes, Notre Dame ran the ball 62% of the time, which is really surprising. Are you surprised with how well, quote unquote, we stuck to the run?
We did in the first half and got away from it in the second. You got a 230-pound back that was running well, and you got Logan Diggs, and you got Tyree, and then all of a sudden Reese went away from running the ball to trying to throw the ball over the field, and we didn't do that in the first half. It wasn't do what's been working and stay with it until they completely shut it down, and they didn't. They went pass happy in the second half, which got me like, what are you guys doing?
I mean,
if you get 3-4 yards, I don't care if it's 3 or 4 yards on first down, good. Guess what? Second down, run it again. Get another 3-4 yards. You're on you're a third down and 2 or 3, and you run it again. Or throw a short pass to Michael Mayer, which he didn't use enough of. Especially when he was, a lot of times had a DB on him. He's got a DB on. He will beat any DB in the country. All you got to do is just throw him the ball. And they did one time, and that was it. And I'm like, really? Why aren't you doing this every time they got a freaking DB on him? There's not a DB that's going to cover him. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. Are we watching the same game, or are we watching, midget football somewhere down in freaking Podunk somewhere? I mean, really?
I agree with you, Dave. I think the fact that Mayer did not get targeted more is disappointing in this game.
Yes.
Why you have one of the most dominating, potentially physically gifted tight ends on your team
in the country, yes,
and you don't utilize him as a weapon more. I mean, shit, use him as a lead blocker. I don't care.
Yeah, and they did. They did one time. Instead of doing it again, they didn't.
If Mayer only catches 5-yard passes, I'm okay with that. We don't need him running the fucking fade. We don't need him doing any crazy goofy shit. We need Mayer to keep the defense honest and attract. I said this in an earlier show. He is bees to honey. He needs to attract the defense to himself because he's a big guy, because he's gifted. He can move the ball, whatever. But he is bees to honey, and that opens up things to people like Styles, people like Lindsay.
100%. I saw also the other tight end, number 84, Kevin Bowman.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, his pass was amazing. It was probably the best pass of the game.
Stuff like that, play action. I didn't see enough play action.
We need to go double tight end sets.
Exactly.
That create the way you combat any too deep, like they were playing. They were playing at Tampa too. Because
yes, they were. All game long. They played it all. That Knowles, the guy that beat us last year, that's all he played all game long. They always had a too deep shell.
And the way you beat that is you make the safeties take responsibility of the middle of the field. And the only way you do that is you put big guys in the middle spotting up. That now opens up your outsides for bubble screens, which we saw screens. That's another thing. I think
that's
that's
an interesting point you guys make. I'm not a fan of the bubble screen per se, but it can be very effective to, use your offensive line to block downfield, right? And we didn't do any of that. Did we even try that?
No, not once. Not once did we do that.
That's how you defeat a Tampa 2 shell. You take two deep safeties who they split the field half and half. Yep. And so if you have corners that have the athleticism that Ohio State's seasoned cornerbacks do, they're up on man coverage, the safeties can cheat to the middle and then kind of ball hawk on, basically act as a bracket to the outside. If there's nobody keeping them honest in the middle, well, if we're not lining up with a threat in the middle, which we didn't do almost the entire game.
Exactly.
We had everyone split. We were in trips. We were in spread. We were in all these sets.
How many crossers did we use during the game? I'm going to count them. Whoops, 0. We didn't have anybody cross the field and cross the formation like you're talking about. I'm like, why not? That's how you get them out of that too deep shell.
Posted up in the middle. If you just have somebody line up and post up in the middle. And I'm sorry, with Mayer being the attention getter, like you're saying, put him in the middle. Line him up in the middle. Say, hey, here's where I am. Now all of a sudden the safety can't cheat to the sideline because guess what? Mayer's in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
To me, that's your set. That to me, that falls on Reese. You can run the same play 5 different ways because you can run it out of 3 different sets, and you can motion and you can do everything that you need to do. But if you can't run the play you want to run out of the set that's going to keep the defense honest so that you can exploit it, then there's why are you going to run trips to Mayer for an on-ball bubble? That
Exactly.
Well, and not to defend Reese here, but I don't think we really had the time of possession, number of drives, whatever, down and distance, however you want to describe it, to really allow Reese to have X number of options available to him. And I'm not defending his lack of play calling or, however you want to describe it. I agree with you guys. I mean, I go back to 2020 when we lost to Alabama. Alabama didn't really score too many points. Yeah, okay,
No.
They had a couple of fades or post corners, whatever, to the end zone.
Yeah, exactly.
But most of their big passing plays were crossing routes.
Yes.
And we've got
They
some
had
big
crossers.
guys,
They
some
ran
fast
crossers
guys,
all day long.
Styles, Lindsey, it doesn't matter. These
Exactly.
guys can run the crossing route. And
Uh-huh.
here's another thing. That's kind of what's happening in college football right now. The crossing route is wide open unless it's a 2-minute drill. But assuming it's not, which is most of the game, you just run a crossing route. There's a guy who he doesn't even have to run his route. He's just like, oh, defensive back is there, linebacker is there. Okay, there's open field. I'm going to run to that location.
Exactly. Styles and Lindsey can do that at will. Every play, every time they can come across that middle, and it's going to be open, especially if they got a 2-deep shelf. There's 2 safeties playing back. They can run underneath that, and that's going to be a 10, 15-yard reception every time.
Yeah,
all day long. They could just murder people, and we got the receivers with the speed that can get across that middle and get him the football. Either one of them.
Yeah,
now,
Dave,
I got a question.
Dave, you're
Did
100%
Tobias
right.
Merriweather see any time in our game tonight?
I
asked that question earlier.
I don't know. I don't know what his number is.
Yeah,
because I've heard
Merriweather,
nothing
I
but-
thought would have been an interesting wrinkle to this. Now, not that I think he's, our savior or anything of that nature, but look, he's the only true freshman receiver on this team.
Yeah, and he's 6'4" and
He's
can run
very
and
talented.
can jump out of the
He's
gym.
Highly rated recruit, and I do think he can bring an element, something. Look, for nothing else, just to change things up, right?
Yeah, because he's got the length. He's 6'4", and they said in practice nobody could guard him. The things I was seeing during camp, that they were calling him like Randy Moss Jr. because nobody was covering him. I'm thinking to myself, okay, then why can't we get him in the game against these guys and see what he can do, especially when we get down in the red zone or get close to it or get on the other side of the field? Put him in, throw him a fade, and see what happens.
From what I heard, Chris Tyree said he was one of the fastest on the team, too.
Exactly, and look what Randy Moss was. Randy Moss was the fastest kid in football. I mean,
Which is
tall,
ironic 'cause he
6'4",
played at
and could run
Marshall,
like a
right?
deer.
Played at
And
Marshall.
he should have been playing for the Irish. If he'd have played for the Irish, probably would have won a couple national championships
Oh,
back in the 90s.
you guys know that story, huh? How?
Yes, I know that story very well.
For our audience who's listening to this on the podcast version, there is, I don't want to say rumor, belief, whatever, but I believe Randy Moss was actively recruited by Notre Dame, by Lou Holtz, to play for the Irish. Now, it didn't work out either due to academics or some of these other things. Who knows? But look,
Other things.
probably the other things.
Yeah.
And let's put it this way. Randy Moss could have been a legend at Notre Dame. Now, it didn't work out that way, and it is what it is.
And he had a quarterback that would have thrown to him, too.
Man, could you guys imagine Randy Moss in a gold helmet? Whew.
Yeah. Well, he was for a minute, and then he became a Florida State Seminole for a minute, and then he became a Marshall Thundering Herd where he stayed. And, of course, the rest of his career is history. So nobody could guard him in the NFL. Even Dion couldn't guard him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but that's here nor there. But the kid, I mean, get him in there, and he's got the height over any of the DBs that Ohio State had. Let him do what he does in practice. See if he can do it in the game. I mean, why not? I mean, if he can do it against our number ones, which I'm still not sold on. I didn't think Cam Hart did a great job. I didn't think
he got picked on. He got picked on.
Yeah, he did, and I'm still not sold on him yet. But I mean, he did a better job than I thought he was going to do. But yeah, he got picked on quite a bit. I mean, some of these younger kids, like the Mickey kid, I like him. Lewis didn't play bad.
And they're going to learn to play better with each other. And even Hart got progressively better through the game when he was in one-on-one coverage. You saw him get better. And I think that was another thing that I believe Fowler actually brought it up, is to see him learn against speed, experience, and discipline of the state receivers and offense, rather than go against Notre Dame, which if he's going against the number one receivers that Notre Dame has, Notre Dame's receivers don't hold a candle right now to the Ohio State receivers.
Oh, not even close.
So if that's how he's been measuring himself, then this was a baptism by fire, and you saw him respond. He did well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for the game, I thought our DBs played as well as they possibly could against a receiving core minus number 11 who went out. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you guys are still the best offense in the country, so if this kid goes out, you got to have a million other weapons you should be able to throw 40 or 50 points up on, according to all the experts. So, honestly, I mean, I think overall the kids didn't play that bad, honestly. But, I mean, some of them got picked on. Some of them were in the wrong position. I know early on when Ohio State scored that first touchdown, Cam Hart was out of position. And I think Brandon Joseph came up too quick. And, heck, he was in front of Cam Hart and basically shielded him from the first down, and they ended up getting their first only touchdown they had until the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, it's really a struggle with going back and look, we are fans. Myself, Red Snapper, Dave, Hockey Man, Hater of the Year, and Stephanie here, who are still hanging on. Thanks everyone for joining us. It's really late, especially if you're on the East Coast. Anyone from Indiana and to the East.
Yeah, well, I can be up all night talking about this damn game.
That's because you run second shift, checking drive shafts or where the fuck you check. Respect, by the way. I'm really disappointed more of our West Coast
diesel
fans of the
show.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
But I mean, look, Notre Dame unfortunately is unsuccessful. Notre Dame is unsuccessful in their first bout under Marcus Freeman in this season 2022, and look, we're trying to figure out what went wrong. What can we do better? Not because we want to be negative.
We got to adjust.
This is
better.
constructive
That's the
criticism
problem.
because we love Notre Dame. These people are up silly late. It's past 1 a.m, right? And we love Notre Dame, and we want them to be successful. It didn't work out that way tonight.
They're going to be. This team's going to be. They're going to take away from this with confidence, I guarantee it, because nobody gave them a snowball's chance in hell to stay with this team that was supposed to have the best offense ever in college football.
Yep.
And guess what? They stayed with them all 4 quarters.
Well, and Notre Dame, I mean, it kind of died off in the 4th, but I do agree with
they
you
still
that
did. They still, they didn't give up. They played their
we
hearts
didn't roll
out.
over and die,
That's the way
right?
it is.
Like, I mean, look, for what the spread is, and a spread in the first game of the season, for what I know about what I know.
Well, guess what? All the
probably
assholes
should have
that
bet
bet
on
on
this
Ohio
game,
State, whoops, you lost your ass. How's that?
Well, and I think this is a wake-up call to Buckeye Nation. I mean, I'm not...
Oh, it is a wake-up for the whole nation. They are not the best offense in
They
college
are
football,
not,
I'm going to tell you that.
And they are vulnerable. I think Notre Dame put a lot of good things on film. Now, with respect to Ohio State, it kind of quote-unquote helps that JSN kind of gets his knee rolled up, and he's kind of, he's on the bike and he's doing his thing
But
on the
even
sideline.
before that, we were still playing well with him in the game at 100%.
And we are ball hawking at the beginning of the game. We're very aggressive on defense, and I was loving our defense, and we were playing with fire. We were playing with intensity.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why we got to be able to, because think about it, guys. Think about the bowl game last year. We're kicking the dog shit out of Oklahoma State, and we give up a touchdown, a cheapie, with 42 seconds to go. And if we don't give that cheapie up, I think we bury them like there's nobody's business. But they went in at halftime with the momentum, and we came out, didn't make the adjustments. Noel, the coach, the defensive coordinator for the Buckeyes, was the OU coach, the Oklahoma State coordinator, made the adjustments, and we didn't do shit in the second half.
Yep.
Offensively.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
It's kind of like night and day between tonight's game and January 6th or whenever the hell we played, January 1, whenever, it's like deja vu. Literally.
I mean, I don't think it's too different, honestly.
It's not.
It's
not at all. We didn't make the adjustments. He did. Noel made the adjustments. We didn't adjust to it. That goes on the coordinator, which would be Tommy Reese. Now, Tommy, don't be afraid to run the football a little bit when you got a 230-pound back in there. Give him the back, because he was running over some people.
Well, and I don't necessarily think
they found out that this kid is for real.
Yeah, Dave, if I may jump in here, 2 things. I don't think it's necessarily so much Tommy Reese not adjusting per se. I think it's more so
because he threw the ball way too damn much in the second half. He gave up on the run.
But the numbers don't necessarily. Well, and when you're down, you kind of gotta throw. But what I'm saying is Notre Dame ran the ball 62% of the time during the game tonight, which is far and above, what the national champion average does, right? And look, I genuinely think that under Knowles, under Ohio State, their team adapted, evolved, and changed their game plan on the fly better than Notre Dame tonight. And good coaches, good teams
we got to do it better. Our coordinators got to do it better.
Right,
we have to.
Right, and those are the kind of things that Marcus Freeman is going to figure out as time goes on. And I've said this since day one, ever since we did a Marcus Freeman retire. I actually, Red Snapper, he'll keep me honest here. I think it was actually when Brian Kelly left, we did a instantaneous, that immediate night, we went live, just me and him on the phone. We did a show. We did a podcast. Go back, check it out on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube and all those places. Check Fighting
I
Irish
wish I'd have
Faithful.
been on that.
Well, that was before we got high tech. But my point is, look, Marcus Freeman is going to figure this stuff out. And the biggest concern I have about him then is the same I have tonight. Well, now it's the morning. Is he's new. He's brand new. He's going to have to feel out how to be a head coach, not just a great recruiter, mid-game. That's really what matters. And this is probably the first criticism I'm ever going to give Marcus Freeman, but it's constructive criticism. Coach Freeman, we love you. You're doing a great job. You're a molder of men. You represent the university well. Look, man, you have got to adapt your playbook. 2 times now, you've been up at half.
Exactly.
Up at half. The bowl game and this game tonight. You've got to come back and win. You've got to win the game.
Yeah.
You've got to pull it out.
Yeah.
And look, I realize that Oklahoma State, look, they have weapons, but our team was better than them.
Yes.
Ohio State,
by far.
this game tonight, their team was probably better. On talent, paper, whatever God bless them with, whatever, they were probably better. But look, you were up at half.
Yeah.
And that shows a lot about your team's character, your team's persona. But at the end of the day, good coaches evolve from that, evolve from the first half, and make adjustments, do good things going into the second. And if you can't do that, we're going to have some serious problems going forward.
Yeah.
And that's not...
Yeah.
And to be fair to Coach Freeman, that's not solely on him. That's on the defense. That's on the offense. That's on their coordinators, their position coaches. Say, hey, they've changed from this coverage to this coverage, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be specific. That is the scenario that's going on. But Coach Freeman needs to understand that, and he will learn that in time.
I hope, because we got in November 5th, we got a Clemson team whose defensive front is a lot better than Ohio State's. It's going to be the best one that it's in the country, and we got to face them at home. So we better be able to make adjustments with these guys, because Clemson's going to be Clemson. I mean, I know the last time they came to South Bend, we beat them. But they're going to have a defensive line that's seasoned and as good as there is in the country. We have to be able to adapt to that. We have to overcome that. We got to be able to do things, because if we're ahead again in the first half, and with a new defensive coordinator, he makes adjustments, and we can, then we're going to lose that game. And if we lose that game, there's a good possibility we could lose the game that's going to be in Vegas as well. Or the last game, especially, because the last game, that team's got talent. Just because they got a new coach, they got talent on the skill positions. I mean, all over the place. And we got to go there on Thanksgiving weekend out there. So we better adapt pretty quick, or we're going to end up losing three games, maybe 4.
Dave, I really appreciate you kind of, being the ultimate cold shower here on the Fighting Irish Faithful podcast here.
Well,
and what you're saying and what you're talking about,
other teams are, and we're not.
Yeah, what you're saying is pure truth. And look, 3 shows ago, I think it was the kind of the kickoffs, show, and I talked a lot about Coach Freeman, and I didn't really do any predictions, and I refused to do predictions, just other than like the in-game kind of thing, like next game, like, okay, I predict this is what's going to happen with the score, right? But I do not predict the whole season. Note what, how that goes. What I'm saying here is this. What I'm saying is this. Coach Freeman, statistically, as a new coach, I went through the numbers. It would be He would be playing above the rim if he had 10 wins or more. The average is 8. Probably less than that is what you get with Lou Holtz when he first starts at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And that's not to be indicative of what Coach Freeman is going to do this season. What I'm saying is that, look, that's just what good coaches do when they start out at a new program, right? And I'm not trying to, like, pour water down and like, well, it's his first game and, not make a big deal and kind of weigh down the importance of this Ohio State game. Absolutely not. I'm unhappy that we lost, but I'm also realistic in if I step back and look at the macro. Like, look, am I surprised? Not really, because Ohio State's a really good team. Their coach is better. They have a really good quarterback. They have better players. It's an away game, hostile environment, all these other things going on. And I do not want these to sound like excuses. This is reality. This is what happens in college football. To go into Ohio State to win tonight, look, we started off with some fun music, right? I had completely different music picked out, and I guarantee you the mood of this podcast would have been completely different had we won. That didn't happen. That will wait for another day. That's fine.
The one thing that I think is a linchpin for the rest of the season is the way Marcus Freeman as head coach delegates and holds his coordinators responsible for the good things as well as the bad. Because I think Keystan's got some shoring up on the offensive line to account for. Tommy Reese's play calls, I think as a whole, and I think he needs to wear this hat, is he needs to hold the coordinators accountable for their adjustments and making them and having some input on it. So I think having that be kind of a linchpin for the rest of the season. How they respond to their coaches' meetings, their breakdown of game film, how they interact, and how they coach each other up, and how he supports them to do what they need to do, encourages them, and hopefully he can draw from some of his own personal experience from the Ohio State when he was there with some great coaching staffs. And how they communicated. So I want to see how he holds his coaching staff accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about because, I mean, I thought offensively the line, the first half, the first quarter was so-so, and in the second quarter, we're running the ball really well. I'm thinking, wow, we got something going here. And then I'm thinking, why ain't we doing this in the second half? And this is what, and Hestat should say, okay, this happens, this is what we're going to do. If these guys run this kind of front, this is what we're going to do. I mean, I thought, and there was that one mishap where the linebacker, I heard your brother come in and say, hey, they let a linebacker come free and they double teamed the guy they shouldn't have. And that's communication. Those guys got to communicate, and figure that out. On the sideline. Hey, when they're doing that, hey, you gotta chip off and you gotta pick him up because he had a free rein right at Buckner and sacked his ass on a crucial third down there in the first half. So I mean, little things are what win and lose football games at any level, whether it's high school, college, or pro. And those are the little things that win and lose a game. So we got to do a better job of those little things with special teams because I thought Brandon Joseph could have at least fielded a couple of those punts and tried to get upfield 5 or 6 yards and never did. I think he could have had a chance to do that every once in a while during all the punts that they had, and they had quite a few punts as well.
Yeah,
He's fair caught every one of those.
Dave raises an interesting question. When you go into Ohio State against a really good team, a very well coached team, a team that everyone expects to win, you do need to get some balls, quote unquote, bouncing in your way. Look, there were no turnovers, there were no shitty plays. There were a few penalties, so to speak, but
a few stupid
nothing
penalties.
too
I
crazy.
thought the penalty against Salerno was ridiculous. That pass was a non-catchable pass. It should have never been called.
Oh, that was terrible. But
that was
my
terrible,
point is this: like, the ball sometimes needs to bounce in your way when you are the underdog. And
exactly,
Notre Dame, I think, made a fairly
they made a great showing. I'm not saying
effort.
that they didn't.
I think they could have done better.
They need to shore up.
We as Notre Dame fans always want our team to do better, not because we're negative, but because that is the expectation of excellence. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for that and for desiring that.
No, I mean it's little things you gotta get those in order. Little things. I mean, like you said, we didn't have a pick. We didn't have a fumble.
Nothing.
We just had some
nothing like that.
I mean,
our way.
that penalty on Salerno should have never been called because it was uncatchable. Hell, the ball was 7-8 yards past those guys when it hit the ground.
Well, and I don't necessarily want, one of those events or situations to quote unquote help Notre Dame. It's kind of like, the other team fouled up and so we win because they presented us this gift wrapped package, for us, and so we just had to just walk and carry it and say thank you. No, that's not what was going to happen. They should be
proud of how they played because nobody gave them a snowball's chance in hell to win except all the Irish fans, faithful around the world, and the guys on the sideline in Columbus, Ohio. Everybody else thought we were just going to get our asses handed to us like we always do when it comes to a big game. Guess what? That shit did not happen tonight.
Well, and
we opened up a lot of eyes around the nation that we got a pretty good game or a pretty good team.
Well, and if I may, and I'll hand it off to the next guy. The spread, and in our last show that I went on a huge rant about this. The spread of 17 points I thought was completely ridiculous. I thought that was not based on fact and reality. Now maybe Notre Dame is playing above the rim, playing better than what the media is expecting, or even on the flip side, Ohio State is playing worse than what people thought. The point is, the spread of 17.5 points was completely bullshit, stupid, not based on anything factual. And, look, if you put money on this, that Notre Dame would cover that, hey, congratulations, right? Enjoy your comps over at the Mirage or wherever you're fucking staying in Vegas. My point is this. Look, Notre Dame did not come out with a victory tonight, but we covered the spread and we got to shut some people up. And I'm not saying that we earned respect, because that's not what happened. I'm never going to say that a loss earns us respect. But what I will say is that I think anyone who's not Notre Dame, part of the Notre Dame community, Notre Dame fan base, that watches this game, sees that the spread is 17.5 points and Notre Dame loses by less than that, anyone with a rational kernel in their brain will say, oh, maybe Notre Dame is worth a crap. And those are the beginning seeds being sowed into the soil. You like this metaphor I'm using? Where, look, Notre Dame is relevant. I don't want to say relevant because that's such a.
I think we're going to be relevant again, like we were back in the day.
Well, we're a force to be reckoned with, right?
Back in the day, Lou Holtz style, run the ball, throw the ball when we need to, play good defense, and that's what we did today. Except we just didn't finish the deal. I
Well,
mean,
right,
the
effectivity of everything we
we
did.
could have easily won that game.
Yeah, what we did effectively, first half was, it was okay. Second half, no. That is not how you win football games. And
No.
I don't want to be mean to Tommy Reese, our offensive coordinator, but he's going to have to figure that out. And now, fortunately, he got kind of slapped in the face with a huge watermark with his Ohio State loss. We're clearly going to be better next week and the week after, which is fortunate because those are the games they're going to be at. Early declaration here. We are not tailgating for the Marshall game, but I will be wandering around campus for the Marshall game. But we will be, Fighting Irish Faithful will be hosting, quote unquote, a tailgate for the Cal game. So if you're interested, hit me up on Twitter at faithful_Irish.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to be doing it next week because I'm coming to the Marshall game with my daughter next
Dave's
week.
going to Marshall too. No, Marshall, I'll be walking around with some friends. I've got a buddy who's never been to Notre Dame, so we're gonna do the whole thing, player walk and trumpets and all that stuff.
Are you gonna be parking in the parking lot on the south end zone?
No, that requires lots of money and season tickets that I do not have either. So I'll probably park in someone's lawn on Twickenham.
I thought you guys were going to be tailgating because I told my daughter, I said, well, you get to meet some of the guys
that will be the Cal game.
During the
Cal game, I do have a parking pass ready to go there.
Okay.
Well, it's really late, especially for our East Coast friends. It's almost 1:30.
I
Dave
don't care.
is
I
good.
can talk. Let's talk till 3 a.m. Let's go. Let's keep it going.
Let's throw it over to Jason Yeager.
Out in frickin' L.A. Sorry ass. He can be up for another 2-3 hours himself.
Hey, you don't hear me complaining, but I don't have a baby boy. So.
I know you can be up for another couple hours, bro. You and I can talk football till the cows come home.
Jason Yeager, anything else you want to chime in before we close it down?
No, I'm excited to see what's going to happen the rest of the season and what adjustments are going to be made, and I think we're going to be all right. I really do.
Yep.
What's going on, Jace?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, not much, man. Look, are you going to be at the Marshall game?
I believe so.
Oh.
Well, we got to figure out a place to meet then if nobody's going to be tailgating. We got to figure some place to meet before the game.
If we're talking about going to games...
The tabernacle where Jesus is.
If we're talking about going to games, I'm thinking about going to the North Carolina game. I'm stationed about 2.5 hours away from that.
Woohoo!
Nice. Really?
Yeah.
Well, shit.
David's checking.
I gotta be nicer to you, despite the fact that you're a Red
Wings fan. Make a trip down to Durham and check out that game. How about that game today? Are you kidding me? About 130 points almost scored in that damn game today.
That's nuts.
Yeah, App State should have won that game.
Dude,
they made a
won
stupid
that
decision.
game.
All right, men. I'm gonna cut this off. I'm like falling out of my chair here.
Oh, no, you're not falling off of nothing. Just relax. We're talking football.
Dave, you also realize, Dave, you realize I have the power to mute you. So, you know.
Oh my God, I'm gonna tell you what.
Hey guys,
your brother and I could talk till
that's
the cows
fine.
come
You guys
home.
text each other your numbers. You guys do it offline on the podcast on my show.
Hey, Red Snapper, come out to North Carolina. That'd be nice.
There you go.
That would be a blast.
All right, everyone. Well, unfortunately, this is not, what we wanted as Notre Dame fans.
Yeah.
And look, we were not successful tonight, and that is kind of just how this game went. Notre Dame falls to the Buckeyes 10-21 in the horseshoe, which doesn't really look like a horseshoe with those extra stands they built in the open end zone there. But anyway, look, first game of the year, I thought we could win. I knew we could win. It did not come together anything play calling to execution to some of these other things. Look, it's the first game of the year, first game of the Freeman era, and there will be some speed bumps if we take a realistic reality approach. So that's kind of where we're at. So I really appreciate everyone for jumping on. Everyone from Dave, Jason Yeager, to Craig, to Jason, the man who can drink whiskey with a manly beard like no one else, to Hockey Man, thank you for joining us tonight. Anyone else who joined us, my co-host at Red Snapper 9098. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, and I am at faithful_Irish. Wishing you good night. Well, now good morning, and go Irish. And we will do our regular, quote unquote, regular show come Tuesday for Marshall. So Irish fall, start the year 0-1, but honestly, I don't think it's going to get worse than this. So,
Nah.
Team will pull back from this. And good night. Go Irish. Talk to you later.